Hello, this is Jeremy Sizemore, president of ASAP Talent Services, which is a division of Veritas Management Group. Today, on the executive spotlight, we have Melanie Cook, who actually is the CEO of Veritas Management Group, the parent company of ASAP Talent Services. So, thank you for joining us today, Melanie.
Thank you for having me, Jeremy.
Yeah, absolutely. So many on this podcast may know that ASAP Talent is an SAP focused, and we do a lot in IT and cybersecurity, executive search firm, talent acquisition firm. We do contract staffing. But Veritas Management Group, tell us just a little bit about VMG. I know you guys are headquartered out of Alpharetta, Georgia. Tell us just a little bit about the company.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, VMG is more on the government side. 90% of our business is with federal agencies, both Department of Defense agencies as well as civilian agencies. Our initial focus and our primary focus is in the public health space. So, we provide all types of support to public health agencies, including evaluation and research, health equity, data analytics, IT, and health policy. And our we started in 2016, and right now we have a team of about 90 people around the world. We are in 8 countries outside the U.S. where we provide global health support to various countries at their highest levels. So we're very proud of the impact that we're having around the world.
Yeah, that's a great elevator pitch at a high level on what VMG is all about. Thank you for that, Melanie. Tell us just a little bit about your early career, your education and how and why you decided to kind of start your own business.
Sure. So I always had a dream to be a business owner. Even when I went to law school, I grew up in Millersville, Georgia. I went to Spelman College and then I went to Harvard for law school. And one of the reasons I went to law school is because I saw lawyers doing all the things I wanted to do. Obviously, I wanted to practice law, but I knew that wasn't the only thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to go into business and own several different types of businesses and do some other things, teaching and various things. And I just saw going to law school as kind of that multi-purpose degree that will prepare me to think critically, help solve problems, and all the other assets and experiences that would be helpful in helping people to solve problems. So after going to law school, I went to work in New York at the Securities and Exchange Commission. And after that, I worked at the Department of Commerce in DC as a senior policy advisor to the Secretary of Commerce, which is really how I got to understand government contracting and the intersection between business and government. After I left there, I moved back to Atlanta after a short stint on Wall Street, working as a consultant. And then I moved back home to Atlanta. And this is where I really got started with my government contracting experience. I worked with a small firm in Atlanta that was expanding from their home base in Maryland. And they gave me the opportunity not only to support a few projects, but to get involved in sales and project management. And so my work with DB Consulting Group was really my start in the government contracting arena. And we started our firm back in 2016.
Outstanding. I love the amount of growth and how VMG has already become a global business and company working with so many big government customers in such a short amount of time. The growth is really exciting, I think, Melanie. Share with us just a little bit. So when you decided to start the company, you went with SBA as an 8A company, and you're certified through SBA. Why did you decide to maybe do that? What does it really mean in terms of, that kind of program? I think it's a 10-year program. Tell us just a little bit about that and why you decided to go that route.
Sure. So all of the programs with SBA are business development programs. So we started the business and we looked around for ways to grow our business. And so the federal government sets aside a small percentage of contracts to be competed amongst women-owned companies, veteran-owned companies, hubs-owned companies, and minority-owned companies. And so the objective of the program is to help small businesses grow. grow by exposing them to customers that then they have to compete for contracts, and those contracts allow them to build themselves, right? So not only are you building your experience, but hopefully you're operating in a profit so that you can bring on additional capital, bring on additional people, additional products, additional infrastructure. And so when you graduate and when you end your service with these programs, you're better able to compete against larger firms. And so that's what the programs have done for us. They've enabled us to sharpen our wheel. I had about 40 meetings before I got my first contract with the federal government. And so it's not easy, but we learned how to hustle, and we have a very good team in place. So we've been able to grow a lot within the last almost 8 years through those programs and other just marketing, and just our experience and our performance has helped us to get more contracts. So it's a great
Yeah.
program, but unlike what most people think, they're not handing out contracts. You still have to work to win the work.
Yes, I know after learning a little bit in the short time that I've been part of VMG, these RFPs are complex. They're not easy to land. You have to show some past performance, and ultimately you have to show the capabilities and the expertise to deliver those programs. And to your point, highly still competitive. They're not just handing them out. So I appreciate you pointing that out. Um, so as you grew in public health and started
Mhm.
to evolve into military and BI and data analytics and grew the business, ultimately, you guys also decided to do some merger and acquisition activity, maybe looking at small to mid-sized businesses that could help you to grow in a certain way or to diversify your skill sets. Tell us a little bit about your M&A journey, what you guys were looking to do, and ultimately it led to acquiring ASAP Talent. What does that vision look like for VMG and ASAP Talent moving forward?
Sure. So I'll tackle the first one first. What were we looking for? So we were looking for four key things in a company. One, geographic and customer diversity. Number two, a management team that wanted to stay in place to run the business. Three, opportunities to grow. And then four, they needed to be services that did not completely duplicate our services, but complemented them so there were some synergies. So we would be talking the same language. So ASAP checked all those boxes. We were particularly interested in the fact that with the focus on SAP, it is aligned with our company focus on helping organizations solve problems. SAP helps companies solve their business challenges through spend management solutions, and that is right up our alley. So we felt like that was a very good mix and a very good fit and a very good story. Also, with ASAP's focus on the private sector, that really helped us to check one of our boxes. Right now, VMG's business is about 90% in the federal government space, and we would like to expand into the private sector. So through our acquisition, we instantly became involved in the private sector. So we're really excited about that. And then in terms of growth potential, we do have a very strategic growth strategy in place. Our overall vision is to help grow the company, first through expanding VMG's business into the private sector, and then on the flip side, helping ASAP to get government business. The SAP business is applicable in the government setting as well as all large businesses and medium-sized businesses. So we're going after all of those markets. We have worked with IT staffing firms in the past, helped staff some of our contracts. So maybe we can bring more of that work in-house and actually provide those services to more of our customers. And also, the executive search has been a very successful business for ASAP. And so we want to see how we can use our expertise and our contacts and our relationships through WBENC and some of the other companies and organizations that help businesses grow to help grow that part of the business. So it's a very strategic focus on growth. And we plan to grow intentionally and with a focus on expanding our current 90 employees, and hopefully one day soon we'll be at the 200 plus mark.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, to your point, when we were doing due diligence and looking at possibly doing this acquisition, I love that you guys were about problem solving, because in the areas that we work in IT is all about solving problems for the business also. I love that you guys had BI and data analytics, and that you weren't just a search firm, but that you were really management consulting. You were delivering, you were doing solutioning for clients and delivering solutions. And you guys were able to be responsible for deliverables over these long, complex projects. And so we were excited about being able to evolve ASAP talent and grow into some of those other areas that you mentioned. So let's talk about, I heard you mention WBENC, and after I became part of VMG, I really kind of started to get involved in some new conferences and new worlds. One of which was NMSDC. That was the National Minority Supplier Diversity Council, and we did that big conference. And now we're getting ready in March to go to this national conference for WBENC. Share with us, with you, Ken, Melanie, a little bit about what you did to get certified in certain ways as a women-owned business. What do those certifications mean to the private sector? And as we talk about WBENC, I'll share screen a little bit so that the viewers can see a little bit about who WBENC is.
Sure. So first of all, contrary to its nickname, WBENC is not a bank. So you can't just go there and get capital. WBENC is actually an advocacy organization that helps advance women-owned businesses. And one of the primary things they do is that they match large and medium-sized corporations with businesses and gives us an opportunity to try and find new business with these corporations. So we're very excited about attending this conference because it gives us a chance to introduce ASAP to organizations. Hopefully, there'll be more than a few organizations there that are looking for companies to help them solve their problems. We know that SAP is one of the number one ERPs, executive search in the cybersecurity industry and arena. A lot of companies are having cybersecurity issues now. So we want to just have some great conversations, make some connections, and try to, just continue to build the brand. So that's why we're going to WBENC. And as you know, we're doing our homework now to try to identify some of those companies that will be there, and connect with them possibly in advance to set up some of those meetings. But yes, we are very excited about WBENC. They certify women-owned businesses. So there are certain organizations that will issue certifications that are applicable in the private sector, and then other organizations that will certify companies that are applicable in the government sector. So we have all of the certifications. We have WSB through the SBA, and we also have WBE through WBENC. And why is that important? So a couple of things. One, when large corporations or medium-sized corporations want to do business, they want to go ahead and filter the organizations to some degree. So the certification process with WBENC, SBA, all the other certified organizations is pretty rigorous. You have to do things to prove your ownership. You have to do things to prove that you've been in business, that you have your business licenses, and all the things that you need in order to be successful. And that way, when they look in the database and they find a VMG, they find an ASAP, they know, okay, somebody else has already stamped them with a stamp of approval that says, hey, we can at least take a look at these folks. So that's really what the certification does. It just filters through companies and helps us to grow, because if there are things that we are not able to provide for that certification, then that gives us a critical path to get those things to help us improve our business.
That's right. If anyone watching this podcast is going to also be at that WBENC conference in Denver, Melanie and I both will be there, and we would love to schedule a meeting with you, come up and say hi, introduce ourselves.